Everyone knew my brother's engagement to the millionaire heir, Amelia Rhodes, was the biggest event of the year, a glamorous, elite New Year's Eve party filled with politicians, CEOs, and families who lived in a different universe. Everyone, except me. Because my parents told me not to come. Your brother's in-laws are elite, Emily. You'll embarrass us. Stay home. Don't ruin this. So I did. I stayed away. Hidden. Uninvited. Until fate dragged me to that party anyway. And the moment Amelia's parents saw me, they froze, stared at me, and suddenly screamed. It's you. Before we start, make sure to hit like and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. I never realized how loud silence could feel until the night my family gathered in the living room to discuss my brother's engagement party, without looking at me even once. Mom was pacing, straightening imaginary wrinkles in her sequin dress, her diamonds glittering under the chandelier. Dad stood by the fireplace rehearsing introductions he planned to give to Amelia Rhodes's parents, Stanley and Meredith Rhodes, owners of a luxury hotel chain, philanthropists, and, in my parents' words, the definition of elite. Everything has to be perfect, Mom kept murmuring. Perfect. Then she turned sharply. At me. Emily, you'll sit this one out. I blinked, thinking I'd misheard. Sit what out? Dad didn't even look up from his note cards. The New Year's Eve engagement party. Your brother's in-laws are coming. High-profile people. Politicians, CEOs, the entire Rhodes family. We cannot afford any distractions. Distractions. I echoed. Mom folded her arms with a long, suffering sigh. Sweetheart, don't take it personally. You're just not good in these kinds of environments. You get nervous. You dress simply. You don't mingle well. People ask you things and you freeze up. It's fine in normal settings, but tonight is different. My throat tightened. So I embarrass you. They exchanged a glance that said everything. Your brother's in-laws are elite, Dad said slowly, as if explaining math to a child. You'll humiliate us if you make one wrong impression. These people care about class and reputation. We finally have a chance to be connected to a powerful family. Don't ruin this. Ruin. Humiliate. Embarrassing. The words stung worse than I expected, even after years of hearing softer versions of the same sentiment. Mom stepped closer and touched my shoulder, trying to sound gentle. Emily, darling, we love you. But this event is important. Your brother needs everything to go smoothly. Let us handle this. Let them handle this. My brother, Daniel, came downstairs adjusting his cufflinks, already glowing under the praise he'd been getting for weeks. He glanced at me, then at our parents, and quietly looked away, offering no defense, no disagreement, nothing. That hurt the most. They were all dressed in gold, navy, velvet, shining like they belonged in a magazine spread. And I was sitting there in my sweatshirt and jeans, suddenly aware of every flaw they used to point out. My modest job, my quiet nature, my simple life. Please, Mom said softly. Just stay home tonight. And just like that, I wasn't part of the biggest night of my own family. I nodded. Sure. I won't ruin anything. But deep inside, something cracked. And something else awakened. I wish I could say my parents treating me like an afterthought was new. But honestly, being invisible had been my role in the family long before my brother ever met Amelia Rhodes. Growing up, Daniel was the golden child, tall, charming, effortlessly brilliant. The kind of kid teachers adored and relatives bragged about. Every report card of his was framed on the wall. Every minor achievement, a medal, a certificate, a hand-drawn picture, was proudly displayed like sacred art. My achievements? Stuffed in a drawer. Or accidentally thrown away during spring cleaning. Mom used to say, Daniel shines. You, support. As if those were the only two possible roles. I remember once, when I was 16, I won a statewide writing contest. My story got published, and my English teacher made the whole class read it. I came home bubbling with excitement, clutching the printed book in my hands. Dad barely looked up from the newspaper. That's nice, he said. But your brother got elected class president today. You should congratulate him. Mom didn't even glance at the book. Emily, Don't make everything about you. Daniel thanked me casually when I congratulated him, never realizing how deeply I had swallowed my disappointment. That's how it always was. Every birthday, every holiday, every achievement, I lived in the background of my own life, while Daniel lived center stage. And I let myself believe that was normal. That being quiet meant being unnoticeable. That being different meant being less. When I got older, things only worsened. I struggled through a tough period, a burnout during college that left me emotionally drained and academically behind. I took a gap semester, moved back home, and worked part-time while trying to reset my life. But instead of supporting me, my parents treated me like a crack in their perfect facade. Daniel is thriving, Mom said once. Why can't you be more like him? Dad's favorite phrase became, we raised you both the same. It's not our fault you didn't turn out motivated. Even when I eventually found my footing, a humble job at a community center, helping kids with after-school programs, they dismissed it. You're wasting your potential, they said. No future in that kind of work, they said. Daniel's career will elevate this family, they said. You just exist. I learned to stop expecting praise, or acknowledgement, or to be seen as someone who mattered. So when they told me, once again, that I wasn't good enough for the world they wanted to impress, it wasn't a shock. It was just a reminder. A painful one. If you asked my parents why I was such an embarrassment, they'd give you a polite answer first, something about how I never quite found my path. But the truth? The truth was simpler, uglier, and far more painful. I didn't fit into the polished world they wanted. While Daniel slid easily into high-paying corporate roles, expensive suits, and networking dinners, I gravitated toward things that actually meant something to me: community work, art, and helping others. To my parents, that translated to failure. It's cute that you like kids, Mom once said while stirring her herbal tea, not looking at me. But real careers don't happen in community centers. Dad chimed in without lowering his newspaper. You're smart enough to do better. You just lack ambition. Lack ambition. My entire existence was reduced to those two words. They didn't see the nights I stayed late helping a struggling student finish homework. They didn't see the elderly woman I walked home daily because she was afraid of falling. They didn't see how fulfilled I felt working with people who actually needed someone. They only saw what I didn't have. No big salary. No high-status title. No glamorous lifestyle. And then came the health scare. 2 years ago, my body finally rebelled against years of stress I never admitted I was carrying. I collapsed at work and spent 2 nights in the hospital. It wasn't life-threatening, but it forced me to slow down, to reevaluate things. To my parents, though, it became another badge of shame. You can't even handle normal life, Dad snapped once. Mom added, how can we rely on you for anything important? After that, they treated me like I was made of glass, but not the delicate, precious kind. More like fragile, useless glass that they kept hidden to avoid embarrassment. Family gatherings became painful ceremonies where relatives asked Daniel about promotions while patting me on the head like a child. My parents encouraged it. That's just Emily, Mom would say with a dismissive shrug. She's sensitive, Dad would add, as if it explained everything. I became the daughter they introduced politely but never proudly. The one they kept behind their perfect family portrait, neatly tucked away like a wrinkle they refused to iron out. So when they told me not to come to Daniel's engagement party, it wasn't just about one night. It was years of their disappointment finally spoken aloud. A verdict they'd always believed but never said so clearly. I had become their silent burden. Their quiet embarrassment. Their daughter they wished they could hide. The morning of the engagement party, I woke up trying to convince myself that I was fine. Fine with staying home. Fine with being invisible. Fine with my family pretending I didn't exist. But the truth hung heavy in my chest like wet cement. At around 11 a.m., my phone buzzed. Daniel. For a moment, a spark of hope lit up inside me. Maybe he realized how unfair it all was. Maybe he wanted me there after all. Maybe, just maybe, my big brother still cared. Hey, I answered softly. His voice came through sharp, rushed, almost breathless. Emily, listen. I need a huge favor. My heart warmed. What is it? I need you to really stay away tonight. The warmth shattered instantly. He continued before I could respond. Mom said you're taking it well, but I wanted to personally make sure you understood. Amelia's family, they're different. They are high class. Their circles are, well, intimidating. I'm not planning to embarrass anyone, I said quietly. That's not what I meant, he insisted, but the guilt in his voice said otherwise. It's just, they're expecting perfection. Everything tonight is delicate. The Rhodes family built their reputation over generations. They value image more than anything. And you think I'll ruin that image? I said, finishing his sentence for him. There was a silence so long I could hear my own heartbeat. Then he sighed. You know how you get in crowds, Em. You get overwhelmed. You shut down. You say things without thinking. It's stressful. And tonight's already stressful enough. I swallowed hard. Daniel, I'm your sister. I know, he said quickly. And I love you. But this isn't personal. It's strategy. Strategy. Like I was a liability to be managed. He wasn't done. Look. Amelia's parents don't even know you exist. And it's better that way. They're expecting a polished family. If they see someone who doesn't match their world. Someone like me, I whispered. He exhaled shakily. Please, Emily. Just sit this one out. For me. For all of us. There it was. The final blow. My own brother asking me to disappear for his big night. I closed my eyes. Fine, I said, forcing the word out like a stone from my throat. Stay calm. I won't show up. You don't need to worry. He sounded relieved, too relieved. Thank you. Really. This means a lot. He hung up before I could change my mind. I stared at my phone, the silence settling around me like a thick fog. I wasn't just uninvited. I was unwanted. And my own brother had made sure I knew it. I spent the rest of the afternoon trying to distract myself. I cleaned my already clean room. I reorganized my bookshelf twice. I even tried watching a movie, but every scene just blurred into the same thought. My own family didn't want me there. Around 4 p.m., my best friend Lily called. Are you ready for tonight? She asked cheerfully. I blinked. Tonight. Don't tell me you forgot. The New Year's countdown at the Grand Monarch Hotel? I booked us passes 2 months ago. For the first time that day, I felt something other than heaviness. Oh, right, I said. Yes. I'm coming. Lily heard the lack of excitement instantly. What's wrong? I hesitated, then sighed. My family doesn't want me at Daniel's engagement party. There was a sharp pause. They what? She snapped. Are you kidding? Why? I didn't need to explain. She'd seen how they treated me for years. I'm just staying out of it, I said softly. Good, she replied quickly. Because you're coming with me. And you're going to look incredible. An hour later, she arrived at my door holding a shimmering silver dress, heels, and makeup she practically forced onto me. You're not spending New Year's alone, she said firmly. And you're definitely not letting them ruin your night. I couldn't argue with her. So I let her curl my hair, brush soft makeup across my cheeks, and slip me into the beautiful dress. When I finally looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. I didn't look like the family embarrassment. I looked like someone who belonged somewhere. We arrived at the Grand Monarch Hotel just after 8. It was enormous, chandeliers dripping like frozen waterfalls, marble floors polished to a mirror shine, and guests dressed like they stepped out of a magazine. Wow, Lily whispered. This is insane. I nodded, taking in the grandeur. Somewhere on the top floor, in the hotel's private ballroom, Daniel's engagement party was happening. That thought twisted inside me, but I pushed it away. Tonight was supposed to be different. We headed toward the public New Year's celebration. Music, laughter, confetti cannons ready for midnight. But as we walked across the lobby, a hotel coordinator stepped forward. Excuse me, she said politely. Are you with the Rhodes engagement event? I blinked. No, we're. Before I could finish, she smiled. Your bracelet matches the VIP access band. This way, please. I looked at Lily. She looked at me. My heart stuttered. VIP access? Same floor as Daniel's party? This wasn't part of the plan. Yet somehow, Fate had opened a door I wasn't supposed to walk through. The elevator chimed softly as it reached the top floor, and the doors slid open to reveal a completely different universe, one made of gold, glass, and whispered wealth. Lily and I stepped out cautiously. The air itself felt expensive. A long corridor led toward two grand ballrooms. One marked Rhodes Wellington Engagement Gala in elegant gold lettering. The other for the general VIP New Year's celebration. Except tonight, the hallways between them buzzed with the same electric energy. Cameras flashed. Laughter echoed like crystal. Servers carried champagne on silver trays. Couples in designer gowns drifted like they belonged to royalty. And somehow, I was standing among them. Lily's hand slipped into mine. "Emily, this is insane." I nodded slowly. Everything felt unreal, like I had stepped into a dream someone else was supposed to live. Then I heard it. Rhodes' family arriving. Heads turned. A wave of murmurs followed as a group entered from the private elevator, Amelia's relatives. They moved with effortless confidence, surrounded by hotel staff and event coordinators. I froze. Because this was their world. The world my family believed I didn't deserve to be in. The world I had been carefully kept away from. I tugged Lily's arm. "Let's go to the other ballroom." "Yeah," she whispered, sensing my panic. We started moving, slowly, trying not to draw attention, but as we passed the Rhodes group, I felt a strange shift in the air. An older woman, elegant in a deep emerald gown, paused mid-conversation. Her eyes locked onto mine. Not in a passing glance. Not in polite curiosity. Her gaze fixed on me like she knew me. Like she recognized me. I looked away quickly, but when I glanced back, two more people were staring, an older man and a teenage girl in a silver dress. "Mom," the girl whispered loudly, tugging the woman's sleeve. "Isn't that?" I didn't hear the rest. My heart thudded painfully against my ribs. "Emily," Lily muttered, "they're staring at you." "I know," I whispered, trying to breathe normally. "I don't know why." We walked faster, slipping past a group of guests, but whispers followed like footsteps right behind me. "That's her. Looks exactly like." Could it be? No, impossible. My stomach twisted. Why were these elite strangers looking at me like I was someone important? As if I was a puzzle piece they'd been searching for. As if I didn't belong here, but not for the reasons my family believed. Something else, something bigger, was happening. And I felt it building, like a storm forming silently above a calm sea. I tried to focus on my breathing, but the more I tried to disappear into the crowd, the more attention I seemed to attract. It felt like walking through a room full of mirrors, every glance bouncing back at me, sharp and searching. Lily leaned closer. "Okay, what is going on? People are staring at you like you're Beyoncé." "I don't know," I whispered, but my heart was pounding hard enough to shake my ribs. A soft voice suddenly tugged at my arm. "Excuse me," a child said. I turned. A little girl, maybe 6 or 7, wearing a puffy gold dress and clutching a glittery purse, stared up at me with wide eyes. "You look just like the lady in the picture at Grandpa's house," she said with childlike certainty. "The one Mommy always talks about." My breath froze midair. Lily blinked. What picture?" Before the girl could answer, a young woman, probably her mother, rushed forward. "Honey, don't wander off, oh." She stopped mid-sentence when she saw my face. Her expression shifted from annoyance to shock, then to something unreadable. She knelt to the child. "Sweetheart, go back to Daddy. Now." The little girl obeyed, skipping away. The woman remained frozen, still staring at me as if she were looking at a ghost. I'm sorry," I murmured, trying to move past her. But she gently caught my wrist. "Wait." Her eyes flicked over my face like she was studying a memory. "What's your name?" I hesitated. "Emily." She inhaled sharply, as if the name itself shook her. "I need to." "Emily." My heart dropped when I heard my name shouted, not by a stranger. By my brother. Daniel rushed down the corridor in a panic, his face turning white when he spotted me. "What are you doing here?" he hissed, grabbing my arm. "I told you to stay home." Lily stepped forward. "She didn't crash your fancy party. We were invited upstairs by mistake." Daniel ignored her completely. "This is bad," he whispered urgently. You can't be here. Not like this. Not tonight. He tried to drag me toward the elevator, but before he could take 2 steps, Daniel Wellington. A deep male voice thundered through the hallway. We all turned. A group of older guests, Amelia's extended family, were standing still, staring at me with wide, stunned eyes. The same woman from earlier covered her mouth, tears filling her eyes. Then someone whispered loudly, "It's her. It has to be her." And just like that, the whispers weren't whispers anymore. They were confirmation. Something about me, my face, my name, my existence, meant something to this elite family. Something my parents never mentioned. Something my brother never expected them to recognize. And something I had no memory of. Daniel's grip tightened around my arm, panic flashing across his face. It was the same look he used to get as a kid when he broke something valuable and tried to hide it before our parents found out. But this time, what he was trying to hide was me. He forced a smile toward the Rhodes relatives who were still staring in shock. "Everything's fine," he said stiffly. "She's just, someone who looks like." "It's her," one of them whispered again, louder now. "It has to be her." Daniel swore under his breath and pulled me toward a side hallway. "Daniel, what are you doing?" I protested, stumbling as he dragged me behind a decorative column. "What am I doing?" he snapped, voice sharp with fear. "What are you doing here? Didn't I make it clear? You cannot, show up tonight." I jerked my arm free. "I didn't show up. This wasn't planned. Someone at the lobby." "I don't care how it happened," he cut in. "You need to leave now. You're causing a scene." I let out a disbelieving laugh. I literally stood there silently. "They're the ones who recognized me." His face hardened. "Exactly. And that's the problem." "The problem?" I repeated slowly. "Daniel, why are they recognizing me? Why do they know my face when your fiancé's parents don't even know I exist?" He rubbed his forehead, eyes darting nervously toward the ballroom entrance. "Because you weren't supposed to be seen. We've worked too hard to impress them. They have expectations. They want a perfect family. And I'm the flaw," I finished, cold settling into my bones. He didn't deny it. Before I could say another word, our parents appeared like summoned shadows, their expressions twisted in horror. "Emily." Mom whispered harshly. "Why are you here? We told you to stay home." Dad stepped between me and the hallway like he was blocking a threat. "Get out, Emily. Don't ruin this for your brother." Lily gasped behind me. "Are you serious? She hasn't done a thing." Mom ignored her. "Emily, if you care about this family at all, you will leave. Right now." Their voices grew frantic, desperate. Not out of concern for me, but for their reputation. I swallowed the ache rising in my chest. Before I could respond, the older woman in the emerald gown, the one who had first recognized me, stepped forward with trembling hands. Her voice cut through the hallway like a blade. Why are you sending her away?" My parents froze. She looked straight at me. Her eyes filled with tears. "How could you hide her?" she whispered hoarsely. "After what she did." My breath caught. Now the Rhodes family wasn't just staring. They were demanding answers. The hallway fell into a strange, weighted silence, the kind that presses against your ears and slows time. My parents froze mid-breath. Daniel's jaw clenched so tight I thought his teeth might crack. And the elegant woman in the emerald gown. She stepped closer to me with trembling hands and eyes that looked like they were searching through years-old memories. Before I could even ask what she meant, a sharp voice cracked across the corridor like lightning. "Emily Hart." I flinched. Everyone turned. Amelia Rhodes' mother, Meredith Rhodes, was standing at the entrance of the ballroom, her face pale, her eyes wide with recognition so fierce it bordered on disbelief. My parents went ghost white. Dad whispered, "Oh no." Mom grabbed his arm as though she needed support to stay upright. Meredith Rhodes walked toward me in slow, stunned steps, her heels clicking sharply against the marble. Each sound echoed like a countdown. Daniel looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. When she reached me, she didn't speak right away. She just stared, intensely, emotionally, almost painfully, like she was looking at someone she never expected to see again. Then, in a trembling whisper loud enough for everyone nearby to hear, "It's you. It really is you. I swallowed hard. I'm sorry, but... Before I could finish, she suddenly clasped both my hands. You saved my son. My mind blanked. What? I breathed. Everything, the stares, the whispers, the shock, suddenly made sense to her. But to me, it felt like someone ripped open a chapter of my life I didn't even know existed. Meredith turned to her husband, who had hurried over, his expression just as stunned. Thomas, it's her. The girl from the lake. The one who pulled Michael out. The older man's breath hitched. My God. My parents looked like statues carved from shame, fear, and dread. Mom managed a fragile whisper. Meredith, there must be a mistake. A mistake. Meredith snapped sharply, eyes blazing. Your daughter saved our child's life. And you hid her? You kept her from us. The crowd gasped. Dad stepped forward, sweating. She didn't do anything special. Meredith's voice rose, echoing down the hall. My son would have died. Her cry sliced through the air. People stopped walking. Heads turned. Phone cameras discreetly lifted. Daniel whispered, "Oh God." Meredith looked back at me, softer now, tears gathering. We've been searching for you for years, she said. Your face, your eyes. I'd recognize them anywhere. My heart hammered in confusion. I had no memory of saving a Rhodes child. But apparently, they had never forgotten me. And now, in the middle of the engagement party I was forbidden to attend, the truth was about to explode. Meredith's trembling hands were still wrapped around mine when she finally gathered herself enough to speak clearly. Come with me, she whispered. Before I could respond, she gently pulled me toward the grand double doors of the engagement ballroom. My parents followed helplessly, whispering frantic excuses, but Meredith didn't spare them a single glance. Inside, the room glittered with chandeliers, gold-draped tables, and a towering ice sculpture shaped like the Wellington and Rhodes initials intertwined. Hundreds of eyes turned as we entered, murmurs spreading in a wave across the polished floor. Amelia's father, Thomas Rhodes, walked quickly to us, his expression raw with emotion. It really is her, Meredith said, her voice barely steady. Look at her, Thomas. He stared at me, and then exhaled shakily, as if releasing years of held breath. Emily, he said softly. You probably don't remember us. But, we remember you. My pulse drummed painfully in my ears. Thomas nodded toward one of the far walls. Come. The entire room watched as he led us through the crowd. When we reached a display near the stage, filled with Rhodes' family milestones, he stopped in front of a framed photograph. My breath caught. It was a picture of a teenage girl in soaked clothes, her hair dripping, her expression exhausted but determined, kneeling beside a shivering little boy wrapped in a blanket. And that teenage girl was me. The world tilted. I grabbed the edge of the display to steady myself. I don't understand. Thomas's voice softened. It was 9 years ago. Our son, Michael, was playing near Lakewood Pier. A strong current pulled him under. People were screaming, no one could reach him in time. Meredith's eyes filled with tears again. But you did, she whispered. You jumped without hesitation. You dragged him out. You performed CPR until the ambulance came. I stared at the photo again, the soaked jeans, the trembling hands, the terrified child clinging to me. Memories I had buried under years of chaos flickered back. The panic. The cold water choking my lungs. The tiny boy gasping as he woke. The relief so overwhelming it felt like drowning in reverse. I hadn't known his name. I hadn't known his family was powerful. I hadn't known anyone took a picture. Meredith placed a gentle hand on my cheek. We tried to find you, she said. We called the schools, the local shelters, the community centers. But no one could identify you. You disappeared. Dad swallowed hard. Mom looked at the floor. Because they knew exactly what happened. They had hidden it. Hidden me. Thomas turned, his voice carrying through the room. This young woman saved our son's life. And she should have been honored tonight. The entire ballroom fell silent. My world, and my family's lies, were unraveling right in front of everyone. As I stared at the framed photograph, the memory, foggy for years, slowly sharpened like a lens coming into focus. It was a chilly spring afternoon. I had been 17, walking home from my part-time shift at the library. My backpack was heavy with textbooks, my headphones blasting some indie band I thought made me mysterious. Lakewood Pier was on my route. I liked watching the water, it made me feel calm, grounded. But that day, the calm shattered with a scream. Somebody help. He fell in. Please. I ripped off my headphones and saw a woman on the pier shrieking, pointing toward the water. A tiny boy, no more than 7, was thrashing, swallowed by waves that were far too strong for him. People were frozen in panic, yelling but not moving. I didn't think. I didn't plan. I just ran. The icy water hit like a wall, knocking the breath from my lungs. The current dragged me under. My backpack sank instantly, nearly pulling me down with it. But then, through the blur, I saw him. His small hands clawing at nothing. His terrified eyes. I kicked hard, grabbed him by the arm, and pulled him against me. He coughed violently, struggling, slipping beneath the surface again. Hold on, I gasped. I've got you. It took everything in me to push us toward the pier. My muscles screamed. My lungs burned. Twice, the current nearly tore him from my grasp. But I refused to let go. When I finally got him to the edge, 2 strangers helped lift him from my arms. I hauled myself up after him, collapsing on the wooden planks, coughing water. The boy, Michael, though I didn't know his name then, clung to my soaked sleeve, his small hand trembling. I couldn't breathe, he whispered. I know, I said, brushing his hair back. You're safe now. Someone took a photo. I hadn't noticed. I was too busy making sure the boy was breathing. Then the ambulance arrived, and in the chaos, I slipped away before anyone asked questions. It wasn't heroism. It didn't feel like it. It felt like something anyone would have done. Back in the ballroom, Meredith's voice shook me from the memory. You saved our entire world that day, she said. We searched desperately for you. But your parents. Her gaze slowly turned toward Mom and Dad. They told us you didn't want to be identified, she said. They insisted you wanted privacy. We believed them. My heart dropped. My parents didn't just hide me tonight. They had hidden me then, too. Hidden the one moment I had ever truly mattered to someone. Hidden the truth from a family who had been searching for me for nearly a decade. And now, standing face to face with the people I had unknowingly saved, everything inside me began to shift. The moment Meredith said, your parents told us you didn't want to be identified, the world seemed to stop. Every head in the ballroom turned sharply toward my mom and dad. My father's face went stiff, the exact expression he wore whenever he got caught lying at family gatherings. My mother's hand flew to her chest, her lips trembling in that overly dramatic way she used when she wanted pity instead of responsibility. Meredith stepped closer to them, her emerald gown shimmering under the lights, but her voice was anything but soft. You told us she refused contact, she said, each word cold enough to freeze glass. You told us she wanted to remain anonymous. You told us she didn't want recognition for saving our son's life. My mother stammered, We didn't want to bother you. We didn't think Emily. Didn't think she deserved to be acknowledged. Thomas interrupted sharply. Dad swallowed. Hard. Thomas wasn't yelling. Somehow, his calm anger was even more terrifying. You let us believe she had vanished, he said. We spent months trying to find her. We offered rewards, contacted schools, searched community boards, we never stopped looking. And all this time, she was right under your roof. Mom's eyes darted helplessly from me to the roads. We meant well. Emily was very shy. She couldn't handle attention. Stop lying. Lily snapped from behind me, stepping forward like a protective lioness. You didn't hide her because she was shy. You hid her because you didn't want her connected to your family's image. Gasps rippled through the room. Dad bristled. Young lady, this is none of. Oh, it's absolutely our business, Meredith cut in, stepping in front of him. Your daughter saved my child from drowning. She risked her life. She was a hero. And you robbed her of recognition, because she wasn't good enough for your standards. My mother's voice cracked pathetically. We didn't want Daniel overshadowed. Overshadowed? Thomas's eyes widened in disbelief. Your daughter saved a human life. If anything, you should have raised your son to look up to her. Daniel flinched, shame creeping into his expression. Meredith turned back to me, her eyes filled with hurt on my behalf. There is no world, she said softly yet firmly, where parents hide their child's heroism. Unless they are ashamed of that child. The sentence landed like a lightning strike. My mother's face crumpled. My father's shoulders sagged. Neither denied it. Because they couldn't. The truth was out, brutally, publicly, undeniably. And for the first time in years, the shame didn't belong to me. It belonged to them. For a long, breathless moment, no one moved. My parents stood exposed, stripped of every excuse, every lie, every illusion of social perfection they had tried so hard to build. And then, something incredible happened. Thomas Rhodes turned fully toward me, his expression softening into something warm, something grateful, something almost protective. "Emily," he said, placing a hand over his heart, "you are the reason our son is alive. Nothing, in this room tonight is more important than that." His words rippled through the ballroom. Guests whispered. Phones lowered. People stepped aside like they were making space for someone important. Meredith gently took my arm. "My dear," she said, "you don't belong out there in the hallway. You belong at our table." I blinked. "What? No, I wasn't even supposed to be here." "You were always supposed to be here," Meredith said with quiet certainty. Fate simply waited for the right moment. She turned toward the front of the room and raised her voice with graceful authority. "Everyone, please welcome the woman who saved our son's life." A wave of applause erupted. Genuine, thunderous, overwhelming. Some guests even stood, clapping harder, smiling warmly. For a second, I froze, stunned, unsure how to react. No one had ever applauded for me before. Lily nudged my shoulder with a proud grin. "Told you were meant for bigger things." Meredith guided me toward the head table, the place reserved for the Rhodes family and the most important guests. My parents watched helplessly, their faces drained of color. My father took a step forward. "Meredith, please, she doesn't understand." Thomas cut him off sharply. "What she understands, sir, is compassion, bravery, selflessness. Qualities you should have honored, not buried." Mom tried next, her voice cracking. "Emily doesn't belong." "Actually," Amelia said suddenly, appearing beside us, her expression stunned but soft, "she belongs more than anyone else tonight." Daniel's head snapped toward her. "Amelia." She raised her hand, silencing him. "My parents told me about the girl who saved my little brother," she said quietly. "I just never imagined she was your sister." Her eyes shimmered with emotion as she looked at me. "I would have invited you myself had I known." Daniel visibly shrank beside her. The Rhodes family took their seats, leaving an empty chair right beside Meredith, for me. "Sit," she said with a smile. "This is where you belong." I sank into the chair, overwhelmed by the surreal shift, the warmth, the gratitude, the acceptance. Around me, the elite guests smiled, nodded, raised glasses. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the forgotten daughter. I wasn't the embarrassment. I was someone worth celebrating. The applause eventually faded, replaced by the soft hum of music and clinking glasses. But at the head table, the air remained charged, warm on one side, icy on the other. Daniel stood just a few feet away, hovering like a shadow searching for its shape. His face was pale, his confident posture gone. Finally, he stepped closer. "Emily," he whispered, voice uneven, "can we talk? Please." Meredith gave me a gentle nod. "Go ahead, dear. We'll be right here." I rose slowly and followed Daniel toward a quieter corner of the ballroom. The moment we were out of earshot, he collapsed into a chair, burying his face in his hands. "I screwed up," he said hoarsely. "God, I screwed up so badly." I didn't answer. He forced himself to look at me. "I didn't know," he said, "about what you did. Mom and Dad never told me you saved a kid's life. They never told me anything. I thought." His voice cracked. "I thought you were just struggling, failing, not achieving anything. That's what they made it seem like." I felt a sharp ache in my chest, the ache of years of misunderstanding. "But even without that," I said quietly, "you still chose to hide me tonight." His eyes filled with shame. "I know. I let their expectations shape how I saw you. I let them convince me that you didn't fit the image. And that's on me. He rubbed his forehead. You're my sister. I should have protected you. I should have stood up for you. Instead, I treated you like. He swallowed hard. Like you were something to be ashamed of. A tear slid down his cheek, something I hadn't seen from him since we were kids. I took a slow breath. I never wanted to embarrass you. I just wanted to be included. To be seen. Emily, his voice broke. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Before I could respond, our parents approached cautiously, moving like guilty children waiting for scolding. Emily, Mom whispered, mascara smudged. We didn't know they would react like that. Dad nodded stiffly. We only wanted the best. For yourselves, I finished. They flinched. You wanted a perfect image, I continued. And I didn't fit. So you cut me out. You hid the best thing I ever did. You hid me today. You hid me for years. Neither of them argued. For once, they had nothing to defend. Mom's voice trembled. Can you forgive us? I looked between them. These people who raised me, loved me in their own flawed way, but hurt me more deeply than they ever admitted. I don't know, I said honestly. Not tonight. Maybe not for a long time. Their faces fell. But I didn't feel guilt. For the first time, I spoke for myself, without fear, without shrinking, without apologizing for existing. Daniel wiped his eyes. I'll earn your forgiveness. I promise. I nodded softly. We'll see. And for once, the weight didn't sit on my shoulders. It sat on theirs. Midnight approached slowly, the minutes ticking like soft heartbeats through the ballroom. The Rhodes family returned to the head table, treating me not as an outsider, but as someone who mattered. When I rejoined them, Meredith squeezed my hand under the table. I hope you know, she said, you have a place with us, not because of what you did, but because of who you are. Her words filled a space inside me I didn't even know was empty. Across the room, my parents stood near the exit, watching but keeping their distance. Their once confident expressions were replaced with quiet shame, uncertainty, and something unfamiliar. Humility. For the first time in my life, I didn't ache for their approval. I didn't need it. Thomas lifted his champagne glass. To Emily, he said warmly, the bravest person in this room. The guests around us clinked glasses, smiling. Even Amelia, elegant, poised, glowing, leaned toward me. I'm glad you're here, she whispered. I want you in our lives. Daniel, still raw with apology, nodded silently beside her. He looked at me the way a brother should, with pride, not embarrassment. As the final seconds of the year began counting down, people stood and moved toward the balcony overlooking the city. Fireworks waited far below, ready to boast against the night sky. Lily joined me, slipping her arm through mine. Crazy night, huh? She said with a grin. You have no idea. We stepped onto the balcony. The cold air kissed my skin, the breeze carrying distant cheers from the streets below. The entire city seemed to shimmer beneath us, lights glowing, cars honking, strangers chanting the countdown. 10, 9, 8. Meredith and Thomas stood beside me. Daniel and Amelia too. Not in front of me. Not above me. Beside me. Equal. Family. The kind I didn't know I could have. 7, 6. Lily squeezed my hand. You okay? I nodded slowly, feeling the truth settle deep inside my chest. I'm more than okay. 5, 4. I thought about the girl I used to be, the forgotten daughter, the quiet shadow, the one always asked to stand in the background. She wasn't gone. She had simply stepped into the light tonight. 3, 2. The first firework shot up, bursting into gold. 1. The sky exploded with color. Laughter, cheers, and music flooded the balcony. And in that moment, wrapped in the warmth of people who finally saw me, I felt something I had never felt at a family gathering. Belonging. Not the kind tied to blood or obligation, but the kind earned through truth, courage, and being unapologetically myself. The new year dawned bright and loud. And for the first time, it felt like my year.